Hello and welcome. I am back. Yes, I am here. What did I say the other time? Multicasting across the interweb. Yes, I am live on, I think, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. It is amazing to be here. If you don't know me, I'm thinking you probably do if you're from one of those little crowds. But I am Chris Mooney from CM Learning, and it is great to be here. Do let me know when you come in, say hello, let me know that you are here. I am a mindset and resilience facilitator and coach. At the outset of 2021, I kind of just wanted to do my little bit from my tiny little corner of the world here in Bournemouth in the United Kingdom, if anyone is further afield, just to help to reset some mindsets right at the start of this year. Hello, Gareth, and hello, Laurie. Oh, amazing. Hello, everyone. This is so cool. Look what I can do. I can flash up comments and all sorts. Hi, Kerry. Brilliant to have you here. I'm Beverly. It's amazing to see you. Yeah, it's been a bit of a year, in fact. And if you are happy to get stuck in for, I don't know, the next 45-ish or so minutes, as long as it takes really, but it won't take longer than that. I would love you to give me a number in the comments of how your year has been so far. So from 1 to 10, has it been a 1? Oh, I'm not sure I've got it in me for 2021. Or has it been a 10? And some people I'm talking to, it has been a 10. It's like, I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's fine. No big deal. So do let me know what's your number in the chat. And of course, I will let you know my number in a second as well. But yeah, just here at the outset of a brand new year, which holds so much appeal, I wanted to do what I can just to help you in some small way to reset those mindsets. You might have seen that I have got a mindset reset offer, so I will tell you a little bit more at that at the end, and it'll only take not even 5 minutes. So I hope that that's a good deal, like 40-ish minutes of kind of chat and working together on mindsets and where we are, and then a little 5 minutes on my mindset reset offer. But if that is of no interest to you, then just stay around and hopefully have a bit of a laugh with us and a bit of fun, because I'm right in thinking we kind of need that now more than ever. So when we get into this stuff, the only the massive difference that we would have in a mindset reset offer, and people like Beverly, I think, and Kerry, you'll know where I'm going with this, is that we would have it completely virtually. So we would have everyone's cameras on, we would have breakout rooms, and we would have all that stuff going on. So I know it's a little bit one way at the minute, and seriously, your chat stuff that I can see coming through at the minute is such a huge help for me. So the kind of stuff that is both in that offer and that I'm going to dip into a little bit on today is, he says, trying to get all fancy. Now, the best way I could find, the quickest and easiest way I could find, was to do it like this. And I thought, well, that's quite good fun, because then I can do this. Or I'm going to do like that as well. So the sorts of stuff that I'm going to encourage you to be thinking about today, and like seriously, offer aside, whether you are interested or not, everything that I hope to offer you today is some food for thought of stuff that you can be doing for your mindset, with or without someone like me rocking up and helping you with it. So the sorts of things, in a second, I'm going to talk about why it's so important that we need to be taking stock of the year that has just gone, both in terms of the challenges and the successes that we have had. We'll be looking at this weird thing called change and how we all respond differently. And how we can enter a new year, hopefully with a little bit of a stronger mindset. And then this brilliant brain of ours, and how it does so much to often try and help us while having the opposite effect. And by the end of the session, I hope to at least offer you one really practical, quick strategy that you can use to be resetting those mindsets. And no doubt you're going to have your own brilliant stuff to contribute as well, which I can't wait to hear. So this is amazing. Hi, user friendly. Hi, Clive. Great to see you. And then we've got some numbers coming through. So thank you so much for those numbers. Yeah, oh, hang on. Oh dear, look at this. Look at this. 1 second. What am I doing, Mooney? Here we go. Those numbers coming through, we have a 5 from Gareth. We have, can I just flip between them? We have a 7 from Beverly, 7 from Kerry. And Laurie, thank you so much for that. If you can bear it, it's about a 3. I get that. I think mine would probably be on average, where are we? 6 days in, a 6 for 6. And yeah, maybe 1 or 2 has been slightly higher. Maybe slightly lower high as you come in. And I should say hi if you are watching in the after party as well. Keep those comments going because I will keep an eye on it. And we've got another 5 coming in through YouTube as well. And Laurie, I think you're absolutely not alone, and I love that. But that means there is room for improvement. There you go. There is always room for improvement, even if you're at a 10. Yeah, crank it up to 11 and all that. But yeah, I think mine definitely a 6. And I think if anyone has seen it, I think a couple of people in across these 3 platforms has probably seen it. I've started, it's quite weird, I'm not going to talk loads about it here, but I've started this kind of weekly vlog where I just kind of capture much more informally, kind of as it happens, how I'm feeling. And I'm surprising myself with how much I'm saying on my vlog. I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling it today. It's like, I don't know what's going on when I tune into it. I'm just not there. I'm just not there with it. So at the outset of lockdown 3.0 here in the UK, and whatever that may entail and whatever that brings, and I don't want it all to be all locky downy and stuff, but there is a huge amount going on for all of us at the minute in different ways. So it's that old phrase that I quite like, actually. It's a bit cheesy, but we're not in the same boat. We're all in the same storm. It's that thing. Not everyone's in the same situation, but we're all having to find our own unique way through a very, very challenging situation. So that reflection that I mentioned a second ago, again, keep those chats, comments coming through if you can, because I'd be really interested to know is have you taken any time so far? And it's not too late. It's never too late, even if it's July. But that start of a new year holds that fresh appeal, doesn't it? Have you taken that time to do any reflection? I'm not talking about, some of you know how I feel about resolutions and stuff like that. That's not where I'm going with it. Have you taken any time just to do that little bit of reflection on last year? Going into a fresh one, because in the mindset reset session, and what I'm going to encourage you to do, possibly more solo and on your own, and feel free as I chuck this stuff up to take a picture of anything if you like the look of it, is to do exactly just that. Can you tell I'm trying to multitask? So here we go. So what first and foremost, that number out of 10 that I asked you for, this habit of daily conscious reflection, I find works brilliantly, and so many of my clients that I work with get into this habit where at the start of each day they do just that. They rate themselves, look, on this scale. Oh, I can't do it because it's mirroring my screen. On this scale of 1 to 10, where is their mindset at? How resilient are they feeling? 2 different questions, but giving you that number out of 10, not with the intention to try and change it immediately or get yourself from a 5 to a 7 or anything like that, just to check in with yourself, because it's that thing that we so rarely do, for reasons that we'll possibly come on to when we talk about this brilliant brain that I'm trying to point to. This is stuff that you can be doing either, like I say, with someone like myself, or loads of people that I work with and that I meet. I offer something like this to, and you can take it into your own team time, particularly where the majority of them are virtual at the minute. This can be a really good instigator for some really quite deep conversations within a team. So what I encourage you to do in terms of helping you to reset your mindset is, if you haven't already particularly, is take some time quite soon to look back over the year that has been. Not just in terms of all those cheesy challenges, but first of all, thinking about what have been your biggest successes. So what was it that surprised you? We've all got a huge amount of strengths. I don't know if you can make it out there. My new quote in the background I just did today, no one is me and that is my superpower. I slightly adapted that because it should say no one is you and that is your superpower, but it helps me to kind of talk to me. So we've got all these huge strengths that we forget about. Did any of your strengths surprise you? What did you use? And what of that will you keep going into this year? And then, yeah, of course, those challenges. Did you overcome those challenges, and how? If you did, maybe you didn't. Either way, what have you learned about yourself through those challenges? And yeah, I guess when we come on, importantly, to how much control we have with this stuff, is it still a challenge? And can you influence? Can you do anything to influence it? And then finally, in lieu of resolutions, my encouragement to you, and let me get rid of this. My encouragement to you is that you bin off the resolutions, set ourselves up. Oh, I've got this. I'm back. But yeah, my encouragement to you is much more, rather than set yourself up for those resolutions, is reflect on the year, both in terms of what you're grateful for. And that's important when it comes to resetting our mindset, because there is always a huge amount to be grateful for. And I know that it's when things are at their darkest. And so everything that I do, everything that I try and do and help people with, is with that element of realism. It's not that Pollyanna kind of keep your chin up, kind of hope for the best and all that kind of stuff. It's very much about looking for those little things sometimes that we have to be grateful for, and then thinking about, once you've done that reflection, what do you want to keep going into this year? Because I have that belief, a couple of you might have heard me say, that we will only learn from a year like last year if we choose to learn from it. And that's important, because otherwise, as we'll get onto with our brilliant brain, we keep our head in the sand and we try and stay strong, and we stay in autopilot mode. Let me check in with the comments. So, Kerry, let's start with yours, if that's all right. You're one of the most positive people you know. I would go with that from what I know of you, Kerry. You had a brilliant start to the year. It felt really wonky today. I nearly put something out today. I didn't get a chance, didn't get around to it today, saying, look, if you're not feeling like something like this today, that's maybe your body's way of saying it's a really good idea to do something. And Kerry, again, thank you for that honesty, because I'm finding that as well, not just for myself, but I spotted it yesterday. Most people I was talking to on Monday were kind of okay, they're kind of getting into it, and then yesterday there was just seemed to be this collective dip in people, myself included, and I have to be honest, that's kind of continued a little bit today. The last 40 minutes I've just been in here listening to I'll be honest, Kylie, anyone who knows me knows who I was listening to, and just kind of having a little dance and kind of psyching myself up a bit, because I've just needed that, like, come on Chris, you've got this, you can do this. Right, Laurie, so you are usually, again, I would totally agree, very optimistic and positive. I am sure as well it's a temporary blip. Winter blues are an annual thing for me. Yeah, there's the whole seasonal thing. Exasperated by lockdown and the lack of certainty. There is so much going on. And Laurie, thank you. The idea, yeah, totally. We always forget our successes, and successes through those challenges as well, and that's hugely important. And don't forget that generally we are very bad, rubbish in fact, of telling ourselves that we've done well. So to all of you, and to many of you that I can see in whichever room you're in, running your own businesses, you've done bloody brilliant. If nobody's told you that lately, take it from me, because I have too. And just to get through a year like 2020 in that situation is brilliant. Jim, you have definitely done the reflection, do it daily, not bothered with the resolutions. They're a bit like me. Feeling positive, actually like some of the solitude that the lockdown brings. Yes, Jim, I can be really interested, Jim, if you what you find is the downside to it, because I totally get that as well. It's kind of, I love that bit of solitude as well. And then we've got some more gratitude, really good to engage in that, to create that perspective, to not wallow. Love it. We'll maybe touch on that later as well, Laurie. And Beverly, you've still got to do your reflection. I know, aren't we the worst, right? We just say, yeah, do it. I have to say, my vlog is a brilliant way of accountability and forcing myself to do that. So I've done mine this year, mainly because of that. Oh, and you started back yesterday. you sat and procrastinated instead. I know, it's like, if I wasn't doing this now, Beverly, I'd be doing the same, just sat here looking out the window. Okay. So you've really struggled, you've took yourself out and started again today, much more positive, brilliant. And again, what, if anything, you have done to start back with more of that positivity, Beverly? It'd be really interesting to know. Keep that stuff coming. Thank you so much, everyone, for these brilliant comments. Some of you can relate to what it's like just talking to yourself into the screen, so it really does mean so much. So that is step one. If you would like me to flash up any that like that, the last thing that I put on, or if you want me to send it to you, in fact, so that you can kind of walk through that yourself and do that, I'm more than happy to do that for you. Just let me know in the comments. So let's talk about this brilliant brain of ours, as I called it earlier, this 3-pound weirdo that we carry around with us everywhere. And I don't know if you can cast your mind, if you want to, you probably don't want to, cast your minds back to February-ish time, March time last year. And when things started to hit, for most of us, this isn't, I'm generalizing hugely because not everyone will have been in that kind of situation. But when things hit for the majority of us, kind of what was going on in that brilliant brain of yours, because it does so much to try and keep us safe, doesn't it? And it's done a pretty decent job of it so far. I mean, we're still here. And again, I can see the crowd I've got in loads of, I don't need to talk at length about fight or flight or the reptilian complex or anything like that. We do dig deeper into this, of course, in our mindset reset session. But it has got us through. It has got us through for better or for worse. Now, no offense intended when I say this, but myself included, whoever is watching, I think I've got a group of adults here. It's 9 to 5 at least. We have this assumption that we are fully formed by this point that we find ourselves after all these decades. And so particularly during a challenging period such as we've had, and we have to remember again, this isn't just lockdown specific. We have had other challenging times, both personally and as a group of humans. And so when we are faced with that huge change, our brain has this brilliant ability to go into what I called earlier, that autopilot mode. So we put our head down, we keep our head in the sand, we try and stay strong for everyone, including ourselves around us. There's so much wrapped up in it. We don't want to be seen as a failure. We don't want to be seen as weak. I'm working with a lot of teams at the minute. Again, some of you might have experienced this, where I'm seeing a lot of people don't want to be seen as not pulling their weight. So there's a lot of self-imposed guilt going on in people at the minute, wanting to show up, and that element of presenteeism going on in a lot of remote teams. So it gets us through for better or worse. And this is one of the things that we crack. And one of the things I want to just put out to you, and again, you probably know this stuff because it depends on when you hear some of this stuff and what point you're at. So hence why I thought maybe now is an important time to hear it, is that we can change and we can switch off that autopilot in our brain to create that change for us in our thinking, in our outlook, and our resilience. And that's important because when we're looking at the world, we have to remember when we switch off that autopilot is that information has no meaning at all. It's the importance that we put on that information that gives it the meaning. And so if we take that one step further, then of course we can understand much better that the world isn't as we see it. We see the world that we want to see through it. So some quite deep stuff. We don't like roll in the sofa here and get you to tell us about your childhood or anything like that, but there is some quite deep stuff going on with this. So let's just check in. We have got Laurie. Thank you, Laurie. Yes, Beverly, totally brilliant. Bravo for Beverly. Oh yes, Laurie, happy to send it through to you. We're always messaging on the old Insta. We'll send it through as soon as we're done. And oh yes, now getting outside, that is brilliant for a good old mindset reset. I did that at 1 o'clock today with the dogs, as I do most days. Give yourself a shake and read. Oh, a quote: "Every day spent procrastinating is another day worrying about that thing that you are putting off. Do it now." I like that. I like that, Beverly, because I'm very good at putting the pro into procrastinating. So I'm going to remember that one. Right, so our brilliant brain, and there is this, even a topic, a topic like the brain goes so deep, doesn't it? Goes so deep for us all. But it's something that we do explore more. I'm a bit of a brain nerd in terms of how this 3-pound weirdo does set us up for failure quite a lot of the time. So I'm talking inner critic, I'm talking imposter syndrome, that inner voice. I'm going to try that little technique I mentioned that I'm going to offer at the end. I hope is one that's going to help quite a lot with those kind of things as well. And then Gareth, getting outside, yeah, it does, doesn't it? And I would challenge as well, particularly the times when, as I mentioned, I think it's to one of Kerry's cards, when I mentioned whenever you want to, at the points where you don't want to, you just like Beverly says, sat there at your desk, I'd say that's the point. Always you just force yourself out, it gets the oxygen circulating and around the brain, blood around the body, and we come back and we feel totally different. It definitely can help. So my next question to you then, I should have asked you this a minute or two ago, so I had some comments to go straight into. But do you like change? So maybe framed in the last year or so, I don't know. Do you like change? Maybe just a yes or no. For this question, I will allow it depends kind of response as well. Let me know what you reckon when it comes to change. So when it does come to this stuff, and again, I will tell you my view on change as well in a second, but when it comes to particularly how we all deal with and respond to change, for me, there are two huge factors, which again, if we frame it in the last year or so, is first of all, how aware were we of the change before it impacted us? And secondly, how much control do we feel that we have over the change? We've got some comments coming through. I'll get too fancy with these. We've got Beverly saying, yes, you do. Yes, I like change. We've got Sean, not really unless it's progress. That's the kind of, it depends, isn't it? And then Gareth likes change. You get bored quite easily. Or anything to mix things up, Laurie, anything to change the norm, particularly at the moment. And gym, yes, fitness, not been in a gym for almost a year. You train outside, very good, especially at this time of year. Feels so much better for it. Best change that I have made, yes, to change. Thank you, Jim. I have to say, I did my first since the gym shut last week, was it? Oh, I can't even remember now. I've lost track of the days. It's Blur's Day. Whenever the gym shut, I did my first HIIT session in this very room today. You didn't want to see it in here a few hours ago. And again, a bit like you were saying with getting out and about and getting some air, I think I really wasn't feeling it this morning. I was like, I do not want to do this for half an hour of my life. But of course, guess what? I felt so much better after. I think you're spot on there, Jim. So this element of change. Now, I'm going to spend too long. I'm keeping an eye on the time. So I've promised you 45-ish or so minutes. I just want to flash this up and not go into everything in depth, because I know that so many organizations, of course, you flash this up, don't you? Again, I've got a couple of L&D buddies in the room. You flash this up and they go, oh God, it's the change curve. And yeah, okay, it's been around for decades. For anyone not familiar, because I shouldn't assume, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she came up with this, sorry, hands are distracting, many decades ago in the 60s, I believe, originally to help us through the bereavement process. And like with so much stuff in the business world, they looked at it and they thought, hang on, that's kind of like how we go through change at work, before they stall it with pride. And I guess what I'm encouraging you to think about here when it comes to resetting your mindset, and again, feel free, please do share anything you're comfortable to share in the comments, is which of those stages or phases in particular have you most resonated with over the last year? This could be a really interesting one to bring into that reflection that we've been talking about earlier. And just speaking very personally, and again, because I promised you, I like to give everything that I try and do and help people with that element of realism. For me, where this helps is that over that last year, I don't mind sharing with you that shock of that change that we had in February or March. I remember when things were heating up in January, February, and thinking, this won't affect me. There's no way this will impact me. This is a outside the UK thing. This is never going to come to my front door, because if it did, I don't even want to think about what would happen if it did. And so my head went straight in the sand. I thought, there's no way that I can lose all my face-to-face work, as some of you will relate to. There's no way, because if that happens, then I can't pay the mortgage. If I can't pay the mortgage, how do we live? And so on and so on. That disasterized, and I just wouldn't allow it. I was like, no, not going to happen. And then, of course, things take hold, don't they? I do remember getting very frustrated, very anger. I would label it as anger, but it's like very internalized anger, along the lines of, well, this is great. And I'm going to be quite controversial. I hope I don't upset anyone. Never talk about politics or religion, the whole government support side of things. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on quickly. I was like, oh, brilliant. Well, I'm out here on my own. What do I do? I've got to fend for myself. Oh, this is so unfair. And yeah, I think it's fair to say we've all had our fair share of slump days as well. Before we start to test the waters, move through, or take that little off ramp that I've put on there as well. And what's been interesting to see is that whether furloughed, whether roles being made redundant, huge organizational changes happening, is that many people I'm seeing are deciding to take that off ramp, but interestingly stay at the organization. So organizational changes happening, different ways of working having to come out and be done, not always caught up with the processes to support them, so you know what I'm saying. And so some people do that whole lip service thing as well, and that's just on the professional side of things, not to mention personally. And so that is my encouragement to you, is to think about your whether you do like change or not, and think about that process. I'm going to get rid of this little screen now, because the intention being, the argument being that we're never going to eliminate that dip completely, but to help ourselves and people around us, by the way, particularly if I've got any manager type people or leader type people watching as well, to make that dip as shallow as possible and that gap as narrow as possible. But as my good friend Wendy Ganaway told me once, it's a bit like that trampoline that I don't know about you, but I haven't been on a trampoline since I was a kid. You jump on the trampoline, and what happens? We have to come up from it as well. And that's worth remembering as well. So I think it was Laurie, you mentioned that wallow time. You and I have probably had chats on that front as well. I'm a huge believer that we have to have that wallow time. Any Paul McGee fans in the room and his sumo range, when I read that 12, 14 years ago, however long it was, it had such an impact on us, because we need that hippo time to let ourselves wallow, and we can't rush that process, but there has to come that point when we start to move through that change. So, Alison, thank you for joining me. It's great to see you here. It's been great chatting on LinkedIn recently. I hope you're well. I love change. It stops you getting, especially when you're at work, finding it hard to motivate yourself to start job search again. That is huge again. I try and limit, if not eliminate, the cheese and the corporate jargon and all that kind of stuff. But I think when it comes to reset and mindset, if anyone else is in that position of having to start a job search again, it's soul destroying. And I've got friends who are going through that process that I'm helping with at the minute. And it really is. I mean, the recruitment market, not to mention at the minute, is just shocking sometimes. So I don't blame you, Alison. I totally relate to that. I think some of this stuff has a total place there as well, when we just need to give ourselves those dip days. We need to kind of not force ourselves through. And then I always think, I don't know about you, but take advantage of the good days. So a bit like Beverly, your day today, it's like take advantage of that, because who knows, you could be a 7 today and another 2 tomorrow. So take advantage of those good days when they come along and maximize them. And we got some sumo fans in the room. Hippo time, user friendly, loves that phrase. And then we've got Laurie, not a lot. And yeah, allowing ourselves that wallow time. Don't rush out fast. Love to hear that. Yeah. So and the energy starts to build again. It's like that whole thing, isn't it? Talking about resets our mindset. When I know I'm sometimes too big a reflector. I'll have people here who aren't that massive a reflector, and that's cool too. But I reflect sometimes way too much. But that whole thing of resetting our mindset when we go to sleep at night, when we just let things mull over in our subconscious and reflect on it, and how often does it just look and feel different in the morning when we do wake up? So my final-ish challenge to you, I'm going to need your help coming up soon. So if you do have that time to stay with me, this would be amazing to keep this going, because I have something in mind, but it's going to need you to help me out with it. What it is that I promised you, this one coping strategy, and some of you will be familiar with it. Again, remember, it depends sometimes when we hear this stuff, how we think, how we feel about it, even if we know it and we're getting reminded of it as well. But when we think about that, I mentioned those two factors. So how aware were we of the change, and how much control do we have on the change? I think without even asking the question, feel free to agree or disagree in the comments. I think it's fair to say, when I ask the question to most people, all right, what can we control then? Where we generally get to, the most popular response is we can control our reaction. We can control our response, our reaction, how we relate to the stuff that goes on around us. And I think that's a fair statement to make, is that in this world of constant chaos and change, so often the one thing that we can control is where we put our focus, in terms of that control that we can have over ourselves. So as I say, in the mindset reset session, we go quite a bit deeper than that, but I just wanted to put that challenge out to you, in terms of we can really only control. I'm not going to stand here and say that we can control everything around us. Sometimes things are out of our control, and the one thing that we are left with is how we control our response to it as well. So this one coping strategy that I want to offer you is all about linking back to that inner voice, that imposter syndrome. This is where I'm going with it. This is my new favorite phrase, if you can't tell, this £3 weirdo that we carry around with us. And so it's a way to help you tune in to what's going on with your internal voice, what's going on with that internal voice, to really switch off that autopilot, to talk to it in a logical voice. Because have you ever tried to do that? Have you ever tried to have a logical argument with your illogical brain, who isn't able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not real? It's hilarious. If you haven't tried it, try it. It's good fun. Especially do it on one of the nights we're sat in front of the TV. And then finally, to help you reframe, that voice in your head, that inner voice. And again, keeping it real, sometimes in those most darkest moments that we're having, and again, I'm just speaking personally, and I'm talking about those times over the last few months where I've been lying in bed in pitch dark, not able to get to sleep, and I'm doing that disasterizing, and I'm doing that spiraling, disasterizing, catastrophizing, whatever you want to call it, is where I'm going with it. Sometimes we cannot, and I wouldn't ever encourage you to change it into that Pollyanna positivity overload of, oh well, hope for the best. Sometimes that can be at best a constructive reframe, keeping it constructive, in terms of what might never happen, can be quite helpful. So here's what I'd like you to do. Thank you, Alison. You're definitely a reflector like me, and get the imposter syndrome. And Beverly agrees, big time imposter syndrome at the moment. Yeah, I hear that. In fact, in one of those vlogs, episode 1, in fact, my imposter syndrome showed up so much, and it was so interesting to put that together and to kind of see how I kind of help myself through it, as well. So here's what I'd like you to do. I would like you to put your caps lock on now, or if you're on your phone or device, put your caps lock on, and I'm going to put the timer on that you might have seen at the start. It's only 30-second timer. And in that time, I want you to send through as many of your own positive affirmations as you can. So, what I mean by this, if this is new to you, is those things that you can tell yourselves in those moments when your inner voice, imposter syndrome, there is a difference, but when things like that start to happen, what are the things that either you tell yourself or you could tell yourself and start to practice telling yourself to help you reset your mindset? That's where I'm going with it. I am going to go in with this too. The comments that I put in, they don't show on LinkedIn for some reason using StreamYard. So you'll only see my comments on Facebook and YouTube, I believe. But I'm going to get stuck into 30 seconds, caps lock on, as many positive affirmations as you can. And let's get some community love going, because I know that there will be some that others will love and steal with pride as well. Off we go, 30 seconds. All right. 30 seconds goes quick. 30 seconds goes quick. I put in there, just while I'm waiting, I can see everyone's coming through. Thank you so much. I put in there my favorite, I think it has to be, "You've got this, Mooney." And what was my second one? "I'm proud of who I am and who I am becoming." So keep them coming. Do keep them coming. Keep an eye on the comments there. I won't flash them all up, but there are some brilliant ones. Jim, "It's a fizz, it will pass." Love it. "Life is what I make it." Laurie, brilliant. "It's only now, not forever." That's another brilliant one. I do a version of that one myself for the businessy stuff. And I think, oh, it needs to be perfect. No, it doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be good enough. "Believe in yourself," Beverly, totally. Oh, we've got loads coming through. "Tough days don't last, tough people do." Jim, love it. "Breathe and believe." Nice. I like a rhyme as well. "Smile and look forward. You can do this. Every negative has a positive." A bit like that gratitude, Jim. Sometimes it's hard to see or hard to find, but it's always there, isn't it? "Keep smiling," Beverly. And "Problems are solutions waiting to be discovered." I love it. Oh, and the cheeky last one, "Celebrate the successes, not the misses." Thank you, Laurie. Amazing. Now, I won't go down the road. There are two schools of thought when it comes to saying these out loud, and you'll hear many people saying in front of the mirror and say them out loud and say them proud and all that kind of stuff. I think it does some stuff. I think for me, in terms of helping you to reset your mindset, the important thing is, first and foremost, switching off that autopilot. And what I mean by that is start to notice, if you're not already, when the negative voice creeps in. When the negative voice creeps in and you notice it, that is the point at which to start to have that logical argument with your illogical brain, and start to reframe it using some of those brilliant statements. Because my rhetorical question to you really is, how much of the time do we do that disasterizing, that catastrophizing? And so much of the time it doesn't happen. We have to frame it in reality. Sometimes the bad stuff hits the fan, right? Sometimes the bad stuff does happen, and we have to be prepared in our resilience for when those things happen. But so often it doesn't. But the brain, our brilliant brain, is terrible at reminding us of that, because it's constantly preparing us for danger and keeping us alive and all that stuff that I mentioned earlier. Thank you so much for getting stuck in. That has been amazing. Do let me know, send through, so that there's not that awkward silence at the end, but do send through any thoughts, any comments, any questions, any violent disagreement as well. Let's get it out there. Let's talk about it as well. But the mindset reset offer that I've referenced a couple of times, I did promise this won't be more than a few minutes to let you know, is my last visual, and I've lost it. Here we go. Like I say, I think the main difference from what we've all just done together is it is very much participative, immersive, very challenging. Everyone's cameras on, the breakout rooms on the go, the debate going, the speaking over the microphone, all that stuff, where this has been very one way. with your brilliant comments, I might add. It's 90 minutes. And it's a team-based session with materials that back up everything and keep the learning going, not just that consolidate everything from the session, but that keep the learning going. It's available for another 2 days until Friday as well. And it is there for you and your teams. Of course, it can happen after the 8th of January. That's just when I'm stopping taking any bookings from, and then because then I've got to get on with delivering them after that. And so it's kind of there. It's let me see. It's yeah. Get rid of that. It's on the website link that you can find everything at is in the little ticker below to find out all the details. And I know most of you, if not all of you in here, we can have a chat as well. I've just popped the link into YouTube and Facebook, and I'll pop it into LinkedIn comments when we're finished. That is kind of it. That's kind of it. Let me know. Again, I'm not rushing off anywhere, but let me know if it's helped you a little bit to reset your mindset, at least to give you that little bit of food for thought at the start of this new year as well. And yeah, let's just have a bit of a minute or so for any final thoughts or questions, I suppose, as he takes a drink of water with a very dry mouth. My timer's at 41 minutes 20. I'm gonna go to a strong 42 minutes because there is that little bit of a satellite delay, like a Eurovision style delay when it comes to this stuff. I think it starts at a minute or so later, or I'm a minute or so ahead in internet time. And you, thank you, Beverly. Don't know how relieved I am to see your comment. Thank you so much. It was brilliant to see you here and to have you. It's been brilliant to get to know you a little bit better, Beverly, as well. Thank you. Good luck. Yes, good luck. Let me know how you get on with it. And Laurie, thank you as ever. Yes, less lonely. Yeah, it's been great, actually. It's always that thing when you do something like this, going, oh God, is anyone going to turn up? But you all did me proud. And thank you so much for getting involved. You have got the link there if it is of any interest, or you know of anyone who might like a mindset reset offer for their team. I'm saying for teams of up to 20 or so people, we can talk if you need more than one team session. I do have a sliding discount scale there for you as well, so you won't pay $5.95 for every session. It will become less, and that's kind of it. Alison, thank you so much. Laurie, good luck with your reflecting. Yes, go and do some positive affirmations. Let me know how you got on. I'm going to end it there so much. As I said earlier, if you're watching in the after party, keep those comments going. I will keep an eye on them, and I'd love to know what you think, not just for the Mindset Reset offer, but resetting your mindset in general. And outside of all that, if there is ever anything that I can do, and to at least one or two of you in the room, I've said this to you recently, if there is anything, even if it's a virtual cuppa that we can do, then just drop me a line, and you can find all my deets where we're connected on socials anyway, but you can find all my deets on the website as well if you want to get in touch. Thank you, Gareth. I'm going to call it a day there. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Over and out for now. Bye.